Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. It is me, once again, screaming into the void of the internet. So, I got a comment on the last video that I made, just talking about, dying alone and if men and women can be friends. And, funnily enough, I got a comment, even when I mentioned, something about escorts, which, if you're new here or whatever, yes, I go and occasionally see escorts. But I don't, just constantly talk about stuff like that. But, he essentially was saying that, escorts, things can go wrong with that, right? And my thing is this, obviously, yes, that's the case. But this isn't necessarily just inspired by that, but it's kind of got me thinking about how there are people in this space, for example, that have this idea that they're going to live their lives, just in cowardice, if you will. And I don't say that as an insult, I just say it as a fact. It's just a form of cowardice. Like, they're going to try and hide from all of this garbage going on out here. And my thing is, while you are free to do that, while you are free to pursue that if that is what you want, it's not a solution. Okay, like, a rabbit can hide in its little hole, but there's still going to be a predator that wants to just dig in there and try and get it. There are problems that you have to face. And I'm not telling you, you know, in the relationship of the fact that, you said that there's risk with hookers, which, yes, there are risk with hookers. Uh, I'm not telling you that, that's something that you have to deal with, that you have to deal with women. But the thing is this, okay? If you're one of these people, whether it is relationships, whether it is politics, whether it is, the issues going on in society with, like, immigration or, woke crap, right? If you're somebody who thinks you can run from this, you cannot run from this. It is ingrained in the freaking world. You see this crap from conservatives all the time saying, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do this. You're the ones with all the guns and you haven't done anything. You keep talking about the loud minority. Well, what the heck did you do? This country didn't go to hell overnight. It was getting rolled decades and decades and decades, right? Right? But what did you do? When divorce was going out of control, right? When the children were getting separated from families. Like, I didn't see the church, as much as people want to suck that off, right? About how important faith is. Church do anything? Nope. When all of these gals was out here, saying reproductive rights. You may have prayed, but you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. And when all of this nonsense with 2020 happened, what happened? You just sucked it up and you locked yourself away. Never mind the fact that we were seeing time and time again, right? That the same people telling you to social distance were having parties. And even when they were caught, you know what they did? Even though they were caught on video, living it up. Oh, we were social distancing. They just said that. Why? Because they know that you're not going to do anything. They know. So when you have this idea that, okay, things suck, so I'm just going to hide from all these problems. The fact of the matter is, the problems are still going to stay there. There are people that do try and live life through this idea of, I'm just going to get as high as I can. I'm going to get as drunk as I can. I'm going to sleep with as many people as I can instead of facing my problems. The fact is, yeah, you can do that. You can get as high as a kite. You can get absolutely hammered and wasted. You can sleep around and forget yourself on body chemicals all day. But whatever that problem is that you've got there, it's still there. Moment the freaking drugs were off, if that rent was due, it's gonna be due. If you're overweight and you're sick of looking at yourself and you're hiding with being drunk, that weight's still gonna be there. I don't understand. Well, I think I have a theory about it, right? Why people are so, how should one say, right? They're so averted to facing problems. And I think it's also something to do with this brain rot and this TikTok brain culture, right? I think it's mainly that people don't see that you're going to usually have to put in work to fix a problem that didn't get, obliterated overnight, right? Like, this isn't something that just appeared overnight. This is something that was like just festering for, years, decades, maybe, right? And when people realize, especially in today's day and age, when they're used to like instant gratification, whether it's, just ordering something or, getting fast food or no matter what it is, right? Instant gratification is really, really popular now. When they see that they're going to have to put in work, it's so foreign to them. They're like, work? I don't want to do that. Think about it for a minute. We are paying, and I shouldn't say we, but I guess I have to right now because I don't have a car, right? We are paying for 2 meals if we ordered out, right? Even if somebody has a car. Like, it's one thing with me because, I don't have a car and I'm actually in one of the largest cities in America, right? It's one thing with me. I don't have a car, so, it's like I could walk around and constantly be getting sweaty, but I'd rather not, So I don't really order out. I just cook my meals. But even if somebody wanted to order some food, he could order the food and drive to the restaurant. He's instead ordering the food and then paying basically for a whole nother meal to get one meal delivered to him. And he has a car. Like, this is the kind of world that you live in. But here's my thing. Regardless of how other people want to perceive things, I'm never going to see life as this problem, this issue, this, obstacle is something that I'm not going to face. Because my thing is this. No matter if the obstacle is minor or, major, right? Fact is, it's still going to be there. Sure, someone can tell you that this sucks all day, but you still gotta face it. You still gotta face it. Even if you want to talk about it in relation to like, like false accusations and stuff, like there's a risk and stuff. Yes, but I still gotta go to work. I work with women. There's a possibility that I could be accused. So what am I gonna do? Just not show up and work? Just not talk to the freaking female. I can't do that. If they need something, I am supposed to do something. Otherwise, if they do report, they're like, hey, they're not, being a good worker. And it gets my arse in trouble, right? Sure. We could walk through life and just be hermits, if you will. You can, in theory. But even then, that's not really likely because if you buy something, you still got to talk to, other people and stuff. So, like, it's just not really practical that you think that you're just going to hide from everyone. No one out here is a 100% a ghost, okay? Only way that I consider you that is if, like, you've checked out to the point where you're living in a cabin somewhere and even the government doesn't know. That's the only point. And I can tell you, not one of us, for the most part, is doing that. Not one of us. Especially if you have regular access to the internet. So, yeah. But my thing is this, gents. Regardless of the choice that you choose, fact is, obstacles are just a natural part of life. Risk is a natural point of life. What matters is, do you think that risk is worth taking? Now, in the realm of what I guess kicked off this topic, when it comes down to, say, like an escort for me. Yes, can things go wrong? Yes. Yes, they can. They can go wrong. But just like things can go wrong with her, saying something, things can go wrong at work. Am I just not supposed to earn a living, I mean? Like, hey, I have a freaking female roommate. Am I just supposed to not come home because of the possibility? Hey, I mean, you could argue that, like, a freaking roommate of mine in general, like, could come here freaking shoot me in the face. Am I just supposed to worry myself to sleep? Like, I'm not going to live my life as a coward, I refuse. Like, I have had a pretty rough upbringing. I don't say that as a woe is me, I just say it as a fact. For me, at this point, I'll just go ahead and be completely blunt. Number one, it's not like I freaking see escorts on a regular basis. But, if something did happen, it happens. It is what it is. I find it very interesting that the people who mainly come in here are the most nihilistic, doom and gloom people that you'll come across, and then say that, oh, well, that's still risky. And I'm not telling you to just throw away your life like me, for example, and I'm not throwing away my life. I'm just saying it like if it did happen, it happens. I've seen some pretty effed up stuff in my day. And I have seen guys throw away their lives. A prime example, like I can say, is this: like a freaking guy was doing a wheelie. This was back when I was in Miami. He was doing a wheelie, showing off. He ran a red light. A bicycle was crossing the street. He didn't see him because he was doing a wheelie. He hits the bicycle guy, flies off his motorcycle and hits his neck on the pavement, dies instantly. Yeah, like for him, he counted the risks and the costs, and he felt that popping that wheelie and running that light was worth whatever was going to happen. And it cost him his life. He didn't think he was going to die that day. He was having the time of his life on that motorcycle. The guy on the bicycle, he was minding his business. And now 9 times out of 10, I don't know if that guy ever recovered in terms of being on the bicycle, but he was alive. But the other dude, he was gone. He was gone. Is what it is, man. Is what it is. I'm not going to live my life through this lens of I'm never going to take a risk. There are risks that you just have to take. You walk out that door, you take a risk. You get in the car, you take a risk. You get on a plane, you take a risk. You eat food, you take a goddamn risk. These are things that people don't even think about. Every breath that you take is a risk. There are constantly, tons of microscopic spores trying to take over your body that your body has to filter out. There are bacteria everywhere. Life is struggle. Life is hardship. So, perhaps for some, they do find solace in cowering over that, but I am someone that has said this before, and I will continue to say this. I look at the whole picture. I'm not going to just look at the good stuff or the bad stuff. I'm going to look at the whole picture, and make of it what I can. And for me, is life amazing? I don't know. I think it can be. But for a lot of people, for a majority of the world, it's just kind of just something that you fight through. A lot of us are put in very precarious situations in life, and it's just an uphill battle. A constant uphill battle. And we just fight our way out. And maybe at one point, we get to a point where we're like finally happy. But even then, you're just kind of questioning it because you're always fighting, But to conclude this, pretty much, I would say this, to black pillars and doomers in general, right? Don't see life as this thing where you can just hide from. Because no matter how much you want to hide from a problem, that problem is still going to stay there. The best way that I think you should handle it is to face the problem. Facing the problem is the only way that that problem is going to get addressed. I'm not going to say it's going to go away overnight. I did not get hired overnight. If you guys have been here for a minute, you know that I was unemployed for freaking well over a year, like since the channel started. And it's happened before, it's happened before like I even started uploading. I didn't get hired overnight. I went through absolute garbage, just walking around from places, miles and miles, trying to get interviews and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I've got it now. I've got my own space now. The only way that I got it is because I faced the problem. So again, perhaps for some, they feel like it's worth it to just not face it. But I'm just being honest with you guys. The only way that it changes, usually with us, with men, because no one usually comes to bail us out, is by us facing the problem. And I get that is irritating for a lot of guys. I get that a lot of guys convince themselves that they're just not strong enough. But I assure you that there are people that have gone through a lot worse than me. And they're still here and kicking. And so again, if I can do it, and I have not been through it nearly as bad as some of y'all, I know that you can do it. Because like I said, I'm nothing special. I don't sit around here and walk around with a goddamn chip on my shoulder. I don't forget where I came from. I am constantly reminded of that. That's why I always let you know that there is life beyond your pain. So when it comes down to issues, I think we should just face them, But that's kind of all I wanted to talk about because, that comment just kind of got me thinking about stuff. So You know, it's not necessarily a video like calling the guy out or something. It's just, I'm a very deep thinker. So when someone says something, I do think on it, you know. So, no, it's kind of out of the blue, but I do hope you guys enjoyed. That's all I had for this evening. God bless. I will see you guys next time.